However, one thing I do have is a Viking hat. Ah!
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone, I'm like, them.
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart, but sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Go.
But therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know? Wait, whoa.
You have a Viking hat.
Whoa. What state do you live in? What team do you support? Blasphemy, sir.
I know.
Blasphemy.
No, this was my daughter just had band camp. She does color guard for the band.
Yeah.
And one of their days is a crazy hat day. So she bought that from Party City.
I mean, it's a cool hat and all, but being in the season that we're in now, I gotta take a little bit of.
Well, it hasn't started yet.
It's preseason.
Football hasn't started.
It's preseason, you know.
It's true. It's true.
And even when it's not preseason, it's pre-preseason. So therefore, I mean, it's always.
Actually, if you really want to get into that, like the NFL has done an outstanding job of making the NFL like a year-round event now. There's always something going on. There's a trade deadline and the draft is coming up.
Right.
Like all this stuff. This is the first year I really noticed that they're pushing to make this like an all-year sort of event now, even though games don't last all year.
And then they're going to bring the XFL back, and it's going to be amazing.
Well, they're talking about making a spring league now. They really are talking about
spring league.
Mm-hmm. It'll be for like rookies and kind of scrubs need exposure, you know, to make more money and get on teams and stuff.
Do you think that they're trying to like push into other sports territory?
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
where, like basketball will be like second place to football, something else?
That's what they want. There's no doubt in my mind.
Vince McMahon was on the money. He just didn't execute properly.
Yeah, I would say that. Like,
yeah, well, and the NFL is doing it too, because the very first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, Pittsburgh and Minnesota, which, you know, it's a preseason game between Pittsburgh and Minnesota. Who cares, right? It got better ratings than the Stanley Cup Finals did this year.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that unreal?
Wow.
Their championship game, this preseason bullcrap game, got better ratings.
I will tell you what's really funny is on Thursday when they had like, you know, preseason technically kicked off post the Hall of Fame game. There was 3 different games on at one time, as well as like televised, plus a lot more being played that you could like stream if you wanted to stream. Plus there was a CFL game going on. And I flipped over to the CFL game after the Lions game was over, and I'm like, I'm going to watch the real football game that's going on that's not a preseason right now. Mm-hmm. And not only is the CFL so difficult to watch because it's just different. There's only 3 downs. The yard it's like 105 yards on the field, 110 yards on the field. So it's like different ways that they go about it.
I thought the CFL field was way shorter.
No, it's longer.
The CFL was only 50 yards or something.
They have a 50-yard, and then they have the midfield, and then a 50-yard line again, and it goes on from there. But then it's only 3 downs as well. So it's
maybe
like,
I'm thinking of Arena League.
Arena League is shorter. It's way shorter. But the uniforms looked identical to
I'm sorry. I just
teams.
want to clarify something. So they only have half the field. Is it like when you play like hockey?
The CFL has a longer field. The arena football has a shorter field.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's like half the field. Do you go to the half the field and then you run back to where you began?
No. It's just a really short field. So you only have to go like 50 yards to get a touchdown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually when they kick off, like in those Arena League games, when they kick off like from one end zone, and they have to have nets like all the way up the other end zone, and it always bounces off the nets, and the guy who runs the kickback has to turn around backwards to catch the ball and take off.
Which is cool. I like that.
How awesome would football be, though? Like, let's say you want to go to the other side of the field where you actually have to run back the way you came. Like, when you play basketball, like street basketball, like there's sort of like a clear line. You have to pass that line and then come back to the same basketball hoop.
Come back.
That would be awesome because so you're like dodging, knocking your way out and to the halfway mark, and then you have to go back and like
Do it all again.
That would be entertaining. But in the CFL league, it was funny because it was Edmonton versus Montreal, I believe, and it looked like if you just tuned it in and didn't look at the scores or look at the names of the teams, you would have thought it was Green Bay versus the Patriots because the one team looks exactly like the Packers uniforms and the other team looks exactly like the Patriots uniforms. And the score at the end of the game was 12-12 with 3 seconds to go, and one of the teams was lining up for the field goal to see if they could win the game. And all of a sudden you see them line up, and I'm watching, I'm like, who's going to win this CFL game? I don't know anything about these teams. And he runs up and he kicks the ball, and all of a sudden I was like, what's going on? And the announcers are like, and they win, and they win. It's because the camera guy, he literally followed the ball, and the ball went out of the frame, out of the screen. You couldn't see the ball, couldn't see if it went through the uprights or not. And then they're all just like, yes, and he wins in the last second. And I'm like, your cameraman can't even follow the football enough to show that the final play of this game went through.
Huh.
You know, CFL, you could have something going for you, especially in the off season. But if you can't even watch the game, you can't watch the game.
Why would they just have a camera at the field goal?
They didn't. For some reason, they tried to watch it from the kick perspective, and the cameraman tried to like follow it, and he started to follow it, and then it went out the top of the screen, and it went where it went through the field goal. Apparently, was above the camera field of view still, so it was just you watched the ball go up and out of the top of the screen. And you didn't see it again. But they won the game. Apparently it was good.
Montreal, are they the Alouettes or something like that?
Yes, they are the Alouettes.
The Calgary
It was Edmonton.
Stampede? Or
No,
Edmonton?
Edmonton, and I don't remember who the heck they were, but
I don't remember what they are.
they were. Yeah, it was entertaining to watch because I don't see CFL on that often, and coincidentally, the one time I see CFL in the TV guide was in the middle of like 8 other, American football pro teams playing.
You looked in the TV guide.
Well, it was in the direct TV, so it was my guide, my on-screen guide.
Do they still make TV guide? I haven't seen one of those in
God, I would assume they do, but honestly, who reads it? It's like I don't even understand why they make newspapers still. That racket baffles me. Like, what are you doing? They have to lose money constantly.
Well, I don't think they do anymore nearly as much. Like, I'm pretty sure the Detroit Free Press and Detroit News, I think they only do like 3 days a week or something now. Maybe I'm wrong about
Is
that.
the 3 days a week still even?
I know they
it?
talked about it.
Well, and it's still got to be profitable to do like the Sunday one with all
Right.
the ads they get paid for.
Or the Friday one with it. They were talking about this on the radio last week, actually, about the Friday edition that has the entertainment section. Excuse me. Wow. Something stuck in my throat there. But they had the entertainment section, and I still will look at that occasionally if I happen to come across a newspaper that happens to be the Friday edition that has that, just to see if there's any cool like free concerts or something in the area. But I could look that stuff up online just as well. It's just I happen to see a paper.
Well, it's sort of like for me though, like reading a book. Sometimes reading it on paper is a little bit better than reading it on a screen. Sometimes it's just the easiness. Actually, I was going to say the ease of reading with a newspaper, but newspapers are sort of like a pain in the ass.
Yeah, they're very awkward to read a newspaper.
So huge. So
Well, especially
I take that point back.
one of the oldest things that you think about people doing in all these old sitcoms back in the day is they grab the paper to go to the bathroom with. Who can read the newspaper in the bathroom? It's like the thing's draping on the floor if you're sitting on the toilet trying to read the top column because it's so long. It's huge.
And everybody's got their phone now that's the size of a deck of playing cards. That's way easier to hang on to, and you can check up all the news sites you want to.
Plus, when you go to the bathroom, it's not like here's a huge red flag that I'm going to the bathroom.
I will openly walk to the bathroom with my phone in my hand as I'm walking in the door because I'm like gonna be there for a while, guys. Got some catching up on reading to do.
That's right. No, nature calls everybody once in a while.
Yes.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
And I just take advantage of the time. I think it's efficiency and time management is what it really comes down to. It's not that I'm wasting time. It's I'm gaining time in my day.
Do you actually do any work or do you just play games on your phone?
I sent some emails. I'll pull out my BlackBerry. That's one thing that's really annoying at work because I have a BlackBerry and I have my own cell phone. So I'll pull out the BlackBerry and see if there's any emails that I have to respond back to right away.
Why do you have a BlackBerry still? Just out of curiosity.
That's still what my work does. And the nice thing about
work provided.
Yes, work provided BlackBerry.
Gotcha.
And it's nice because it gets my emails and stuff right to it, and it has my work emails. Whereas I don't know if I can set up through my Exchange server at work to actually come to my phone. I'm not 100% sure if it's too secured for that because it's like hospital data and all that stuff. But it's nice because I can keep up with my day at work. But
you know what, Jeff? If Hillary Clinton can do it, I'm sure you can.
I'll just get my own private email server at my house and start sending classified
Send
shit.
government files right to it. It's okay.
I think the funniest things keep coming out about that because the more and more they're digging into that thing, it looks like she took so many extra safeguards to protect the information that anybody assumed she did. And now it's all speculation of, well, but they're going through this data to see if possibly some things that should have been classified that weren't classified is what actually got sent through the server. And it's like, yeah, but now you're just on a witch hunt at this point.
Well, no, because I'm actually of the opposite opinion where I think it's just sort of strange. Like, here, I'll give you my files, right? Like, I did this thing that I'm not supposed to, but here, let me give you my file server. But I erased certain files. And then now she gave the file server to the government. It's like completely clear. Like, oh, did I just delete the whole hard drive and formatted it a couple of times? That's strange.
No, it's not completely clear though. She gave them her files, and it's her email server, and it showed all the safeguards that she has in place by the way she runs the server. It didn't. I never heard anything come out that say she deleted all these files off of there before it went over.
I'm pretty sure. Aren't you backing me up on this one, Mike? Didn't she like almost? I think it's like formatted. They said it was like a cleared drive. Like they can't get to any of the files that were previously on there.
Maybe she had it safeguarded so well against intrusion, they just don't know how to even hack. They can't even hack it.
Yeah. No, I don't know 100% sure, but I'm fairly certain that Mark is right that she at least deleted part of it, if not all of it, because they were trying to make sure that all of the sensitive information got deleted when she said she deleted it.
Maybe she was just checking the machine for cancer, so she put it through an MRI machine and it just sort of wiped it clean. Who knows?
I don't know. This is turning. I mean, it's super, super early at this point, but
super early. It's been going on for freaking like.
Oh no! I just mean the political races at this point. And if we have a Donald Trump versus Hillary for president, I'm moving to Canada. It's not an exaggeration. Like I'm just done with America. I'm out of here. See you later. You know, Mark, I'll come. Is the house for sale next to you? Because I'm moving.
I don't know if moving to Japan would be probably the best idea if you don't like certain political leaders.
North Korea, that's where I would go.
Yeah, North Korea.
Well, they have their own time now. They have like time. So
that's true. That's true.
So yeah. I do think I find it very funny because there's a couple places in the world, maybe only one, maybe two now, but that are off by a 30-minute segment.
Yeah.
And that I don't understand at all.
Actually, I think there's also some that are off by 15 minutes as well.
There's 15-minute time zones as well? I don't get that. I thought it was just like a pretty easy hours here and there is how the whole thing went. But I remember when I was in like early college and I saw something from a news feed from somewhere and I was like, oh my God, this place actually has a 30-minute time zone difference. And it was not North Korea because that was gone away. I don't think North Korea is as... When I first read the article and saw that they put their own time zone, I was like, oh my God, here we go again. But then in reading all the stuff on it and being that that's what the time zone that they actually used to go by, and they went back to try to standardize with some of the people that they do trading with, and now, you know, they're going back to get their heritage. Okay, I can back that one up a little bit more, but still.
Well, we talk about strange time zones. How about China?
Do they
China
have time
has
zones?
one time zone for the whole country.
All of China, really?
Yeah. And China's a big country, and I'm not exactly sure the width of China, but I'm pretty sure like Russia has like 4 or 5 or
Well, the
more.
U.S. has 4 time zones. I
Yeah,
mean, and China's bigger than
Russia's
the U.S.
way
width-wise,
bigger, though.
right?
Well, we actually even have more than that if you count like Guam and stuff.
Yeah. But this goes back to the conversation we had a few episodes ago with time being sort of an arbitrary thing. It's like technically between time zones, like, time works in fractions all the way across said time zones if you really want to get technical about the whole thing.
So
The thing is, it doesn't even make sense how, like, I mean, I guess basically every country says, I get to decide my own time zone. But, like, if you look at where time is theoretically at for each country, it's just a jumbled mess.
That's true. I'm curious, like, so Mongolia,
Yeah.
what's its time zone? And like, actually, all of Asia areas, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Japan, South Korea, all those they spread around different areas, but kind of in the same longitude as China. How off are those time zones? So, like, if you literally go north from Thailand into China, are you like jumping back 6 hours when you cross like a boundary?
It's sort of weird because even with you follow the time, like where you should actually be going back in time by the time zones in the direction of the Earth that you're going, sometimes you have to move ahead. Sometimes you got to move backwards. Sometimes you got to move a half time. It's nuts, I think.
I wish Google Maps gave me a wow. So Google Maps didn't give me the time zone breakdown because I wanted to look at it on the screen. And while I was saying that, trying to type in time zone map, I wrote time zap in Google. So I am now looking up time zap because apparently I can't multitask.
I feel like
So that goes back to your pooping and work, huh? Mary?
Yeah, how do we go so... I don't even want to say astray. It was just sort of natural progression.
That's what we do.
We've covered a lot of ground already. This has been a quick-moving episode.
I'm trying to... All the time zone maps I can find are not very, like, user-friendly.
Right.
I really want to see one. Because, yeah, definitely see China on these things as being all one time zone, but I can't compare it to the surrounding areas in the way that I can zoom in on these maps.
By the way, look behind the curtain to the listeners. Well, actually, not so much. If you listen on iTunes, you're out of luck. But if you watch on YouTube, you can always tell when we're recording because with Mark in Japan, he's 13 hours ahead of us. So when it's nighttime in the States where Jeff and I are, you can always see us drinking beer, and Mark has usually got a coffee cup. And when it's adverse, you'll see Jeff and I drinking coffee, and Mark usually has some sort of Hello Kitty alcoholic beverage.
That is crazy. There's some spots right over there. It looks like in Thailand. I can't tell because they're not labeled on here, and my geography's not the greatest. But literally across the border in China, it'd be 2:27 right now at one time, and you cross a border and it's 5:27. Like that's insane. That's crazy. I'm glad that we're only. I don't even like, especially the fact that I'm on the East Coast. And granted, Mike, you're in the same time zone as I am. And it's the East Coast like time zone, I guess. Interfacing with people from California at all, and I'm just like, okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I got to talk to this person over in California, and I'm like, oh wait, I can't do that until like 3 o'clock my time, or when they schedule meetings, and it's a 5 p.m. meeting my time, and I'm like, dude. We don't do meetings at 5 p.m. And they're like, well, it's only 2 over here. Like, so this is kind of a normal part of our business day. I'm like,
do you think it'd be better if, like, the United States did like China, where it's just one time zone, and let's say people on the West Coast would just, instead of waking up at 9 o'clock, you wake up at,
actually have your days shifted so that
like 11 o'clock in the morning is when people normally wake up.
Don't you think if the world went to like the
Greenwich time?
The Greenwich Meridian kind of thing, don't you think we get used to it after a while?
Yeah, I think so.
We'd just be able to call it what it is. And
I would agree. I don't think there's any reason that the world should be on a 9 to 5 schedule. It should just
daylight savings time annoys me to no end. Like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. We changed times just to accommodate how light it is outside. Like, what a weird concept.
Well,
that.
I understand that because they did that. It was to save electricity and things like that. So you want to have your workday in the middle of a more lit up time frame because then you use less electricity to power lights and all that stuff. When the average number of people, like that, more people are up and doing things at once. However, it would have been just as easy to say, okay, if you're across this line,
come in at 8.
Yeah, exactly.
And do that for the next 6 months.
Right.
Switch it back.
Right. That would make a lot more sense, and it would be nice if everybody was on the exact same time. So, yeah, sunrise wouldn't be at 7 o'clock. Maybe in your state, it might be at 3 o'clock in the morning or at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. But you still go to work when it gets light out. So your day starts at 12 and it ends at 8.
Or you just go to work at the normal time and you just don't have daylight savings time like you do in Japan.
I'm at work way before it's light out anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, people are smart enough that they could very easily adapt to not doing daylight savings time.
Do you think it goes on because it's now a media thing? Because, I mean, I don't think it's as important anymore as it used to be because now you have, so prevalence of DVRs and all that stuff for, television. But 8 o'clock was like your prime time. You put your best shows on at 8 o'clock. You always waited for that, 8 o'clock show on ABC or NBC, and they always fought over that time slot and all that stuff. They still shift those for the time zones, and it's still like the 8 o'clock time zone. Do you think media somehow runs I don't know. I'm trying to justify why it would still be going.
I think in America you do things because it's tradition. So
well,
it's true.
And I'll take that a step farther, too. I think the baby boomers are still alive and well in this country, and granted, they're getting older.
Those baby boomers being alive and well.
Well, no, I'm not saying damn they're alive. I'm just saying there's so many of them, and when it's the stereotype, when you get old, you get curmudgeon-y and you resist change, and so I think a lot of things probably like that will start changing once the baby boomers start getting older.
I don't think time zones will ever change. I do think we will eventually go to metric.
That's the kind of thing. I think once the baby boomers, 30 years down the road, when the baby boomers are mostly gone, and it's sort of my generation, our generation, and millennials a little bit, I guess. They seem to be a little more resistant to change than our generation, I think. But I think things like that will start to go away at that point.
That will be interesting. I don't think I've ever thought about living in a world that didn't actually have time zones. I wonder if that would have other social implications, such as like New Year's. If there would be actually something that it would negatively affect because all New Year's happen at one time.
Well, I think that would be even better.
I can't,
everybody celebrates the New Year.
I can't disagree, but I'm looking for those little things.
I don't think it would be like that, though. It wouldn't be like New Year's is all the same time now. It would just be, it's midnight here, it's 1 o'clock here, it's 2 o'clock here, it's 3 o'clock.
No, I don't think you could do that, though, because technically it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning and it'd already be in the new year.
Right.
If everybody was on the same time zone, the new year is going to switch over at the exact same time. No matter what area of the world you live in.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
And maybe with just based on chaos theory, with that many fireworks going off at once, it could actually start a tropical storm, which would then brew into a hurricane because of the way that it shifts all the winds all together at the same time. I mean, you never know what could possibly happen. You
never know. It might stop the rotation of the Earth.
Can you all fireworks blast at the exact same time in just the opposite trajectory in the way the Earth is rotating? It could happen.
You never know. Enough Roman candles propelling the Earth in the opposite direction might be bad news.
But it would have to point at the same direction. Wouldn't just the chaos of it be?
Well, the chaos of it might accidentally have us pointing in the same direction.
I mean, if you have fireworks going off on the opposite side of the Earth at the same time, they would just counteract each other. So nothing would happen.
In your opinion,
right now,
in that perfect circumstance.
Right now, it's actually worse, where when New Year's happens, it happens at part of the at different parts of the Earth as the Earth rotating. So it's like firework, firework, firework. It's actually causing more spin, right? If you think of a way it's working now, it's causing more spin because they got that wave effect across the Earth.
But the thing that we don't actually take into account is the fact that the Earth is slowing down, and every New Year's we put it back into normal motion without realizing it because of this more spin, which would now change if New Year's was all at the same time.
And if you want to support the movement now, go to Twitter, hashtag when we do away with time zones, point your Roman candles west.
That's a long hashtag to follow.
Well, long hashtag, but we're going to get some crazy results, I'm telling you.
Well, I mean,
hashtag no more time zones. Let's start with that one. No more hashtag no more time zones.
I like mine better.
If we're lucky, we can get rid of that like leap second bullshit. I have to do every couple of years.
I mean, but if we got rid of the leap second, I would not understand. Like, you can tell me it's 5:34 all you want right now, my time, but if I don't realize it's 5:34 and 1 extra second, it might screw everything up.
I'm going to be late to work for sure.
I know.
Believe me, I count on that extra second some days.
It builds up. It builds up, right? Every single.
It does. I mean, in 20 years from now, when I got 2 seconds, like, God knows what I can do with that 2 seconds. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I can really do some serious screwing off with 2 extra seconds.
I really wonder, where did time zones come from? Because I know where daylight savings time came from, but when did time zones start?
It's a good question.
I have absolutely no idea of the history of who was like, well, because of the way we're different and the way the Earth's rotation is, let's actually push us back an hour so we're more in line with their light cycles.
You guys talk. I'm going to look it up.
I think Mark's thinking.
I was gonna say it's got to be before 200 years ago, before the creation of America. I would say it would be sometime in Europe.
Well, at the same
time about the Romans, I would assume.
At the same time, though, was it
Romans did
because
everything.
if we thought this was India, were we running on Indian time for a long time?
The other side of the world.
Yeah, I mean, they thought this was India, right? Originally,
Right.
when they supposedly, according to the legend of Christopher Columbus and all that stuff. But
Right.
would there have been a time when we were actually running on India time because they thought that this was India?
I'm pretty sure they never really thought it was India.
I mean, that's what I've heard as well through history, like after, which I find really funny is why do they teach you one thing when you're a child of like why Christopher Columbus did what he did and that they thought this was India, and then you grow up and you're like, yeah, actually, people commonly don't realize, don't think they actually thought this was India. It's like, why do you teach that then? Why is that in my history book? Why did John Smith marry Pocahontas? It wasn't John Smith that married Pocahontas, it was John Rolfe, but unfortunately the history says John Smith did, and now Disney says John Smith did, and therefore...
I didn't really find a great reason why they created time zones, but I did find it was in the late 1800s.
And so it was after America.
They divided it by 15 degrees, basically.
Huh.
And then they probably went back and added those little islands into it later that have the little juts off of...
Actually, now that I think about it, maybe it's like around the telegraph because nobody really thought about time zones before you had a means to go faster than, a certain speed. Like somebody's getting a telegraph and they're like, "What the fuck, guys? I just woke up." Like, don't you know what time it is? Dude, way too early for telegraphs. They're like, but it's afternoon here. Oh, something's going on with the rotation.
They all had a big laugh. They invented time zones.
I feel like if I was one of the first people to get a telegraph, though, I'd be pretty excited about the whole situation.
I don't know. If I was the first guy to get a telegraph, I don't think I'd be that excited because I wouldn't have nobody to telegraph back to.
I wonder what the first ringtone was on the telegraph.
There's had to be that one time where like somebody accidentally leaned on the telegraph and the person on the other side just gets like
sorry, pocket telegraph.
Yeah. Pocket telegraph.
Oh, good times, good times. Well, anyways, hashtag no time zone point rockets. Wait, what? What was your thing?
I don't remember what it was. Rewind this segment back about 10 minutes. Whatever the hashtag was, I said, do that.
We're going to take over the world with that hashtag that we won't even bother to repeat right now. Just that one from before.
It was like hashtag do away with time zones, point all your Roman candles west.
Yes. I think that might have been it, actually. Pretty simple and easy to remember. It actually takes up most of my Twitter ability.
144 characters.
But I can be like, hi, and then that hashtag, and then that's it. I'm out of character.
That's all you can do. That's all you can
That's
do.
a good way that we were like, man, tweets are so too long today. Like, how do we get them to get shorter and more succinct and to the point? Let's make long fucking hashtags so that we can actually say anything.
I was going to say, I feel like that's like its biggest selling point is it's so just simple. You can't type anything else, no commentary or narrative to go with it, just that.
Just the hashtag. All right, guys, thanks for listening. What do we know? We'll see you next time.
Hashtag whatever. Hashtag do away with time zones, point your bottle rockets west.